Holy Ghost. Amen. You may be seated. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
My last day that I can say that to you because it's the 12th day. So it's a perfect day to read some Shakespeare, right? Some 12th night. For those of you who like much literature and so on and so forth. But as I said last week, since we have 2 Sundays in Christmas, I thought I would take this year to focus on all of the feasts that transpired within the 12 days. So last Sunday we talked about the feasts of St. Stephen, St. John, and the Holy Innocents, all which come immediately after Christmas, in which form a very vital part of the Christmas celebration. It also kind of helps to round out that theology of Christmas, so that it's not just a baby in a manger, but it really connects to the most central parts of our faith. And then that continues 8 days after Christmas, on the octave of Christmas, which significantly I think is January 1st, right? The new year and the day of new beginnings. We also have what has traditionally been called the Feast of the Circumcision of our Lord, or has newly been called the Feast of the Holy Name. I think we've started calling it Feast of the Holy Name because people get a little bit squeamish when the word circumcision is used in church. But I think that this is regrettable because if you're familiar with the New Testament, you'll know the vast majority, maybe not a majority, but a whole lot of St. Paul's theology in his literature has to do with the theology of circumcision and how that has been sort of converted, in a sense, for us as Christians. And so that being the case, I want to go back and take a look at this feast day, the Feast of the Circumcision, and sort of look at this theology of circumcision of St. Paul, which, by the way, I would encourage all of you to go home. For the most part today, my sermon is a little summary of the book of Galatians. So if you want to go home and get the whole thing in St. Paul's own words, which I guarantee you will be better than my own words, please do that. I think it would be a wonderful experience to sort of go home and get St. Paul's whole argument from beginning to end. It's a really short book, only 6 chapters. So if you have a chance, go ahead and do that, because it highlights some things that I won't have time to get to today. But nonetheless, I think that the historic collect for this day really sort of highlights a lot of the theological importance for the Feast of the Circumcision. So I'd like to read that collect for you first off, and then start preaching on it on that basis. So here we go. So the collect says this: Almighty God, who madest thy blessed Son to be circumcised and obedient to the law of command, grant us the true circumcision of the Spirit, that our hearts and our members, being mortified from all worldly and carnal lusts, we may in all things obey thy blessed will, through the same thy Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord. A wonderful and beautiful prayer that really kind of highlights a lot of the key themes of the Feast of Circumcision. Now, I think it's pretty obvious that the Feast of the Circumcision of our Lord is in some way connected with Christmas. After all, a Jewish boy was circumcised 8 days after his birth. And so it's very much connected with the infancy narrative. And not only that, but it was also by means of circumcision that child also received their name. And it maintains a central place in the Old Covenant and in the covenant community's understanding of itself. For a Jew, you were a Jew because you were circumcised. This became an identity marker for them and an aspect of who they were as a people, in this connection with the covenant of God and being God's people. And I think that it's extremely significant that Christ himself, in the flesh, was circumcised. To understand the significance of this, we have to understand, of course, who Christ is. Christ is not just a Jewish baby. Christ is God himself come to earth. God, who, by the way, stood on Mount Sinai and wrote the 10 Commandments and gave them to Moses with his very finger. God, from whom the law came, also came and deigned to be subject to that very law as well. I think this is even more significant when we realize what the law was understood to be for the Jews. For the Jews, it wasn't just some penal code that if you break it, you get a ticket, or you go to jail or something like that. That's not at all what the Old Covenant or the law was understood to be. Rather, for them, the law was the fundamental expression of the very nature of God himself. If you want to know who God is and what he's like, you look at the law, you look at the Old Covenant, you look at its contents, and you come to know it and understand it. And by knowing and understanding the Scriptures, you come to know and understand God himself as he is. But here's the significance of this, what happens here. Here you have the law given to Moses in the form of stone tablets. But in Jesus Christ, you have the law, the expression of God's own divine nature, not in stone tablets, but in flesh. There inscribed in our humanity is the very expression of God's very own divine nature. That's why this collect and the church fathers and all of the scriptures as well see Jesus Christ as the fulfillment of the law. The law no longer imposed merely from the outside in, but the law, the very nature of God himself, being expressed from the inside out within our humanity. My friends, this is precisely what the incarnation is all about, isn't it? And it applies to us as well. The New Testament or the New Covenant version of circumcision is what? I'm sure you can identify it, right? Think of the parallels. We have a sacrament that is sort of parallel to circumcision, don't we? That when the child is still a baby, we take them and we perform this ritual which admits them into the covenant community and we give them their Christian name. And that sacrament, of course, is baptism. Baptism, in a sense, is the circumcision of the new covenant. St. Paul says in Galatians 13, he says, "For as many of you as have been baptized into Christ have put on Christ." In a sense, baptism is an activation of the grace of the incarnation in our own lives, whereby we become part of the covenant community and whereby we also receive the name of Jesus Christ. In baptism and in the incarnation, this close affinity, this unity of our nature with Christ, which is so close that when he is called a son, we are called a son. What is his is ours, and what is ours is his. And so we are admitted into not only this covenant community, but into the very body of Christ itself. I think you can see then how this Feast of the Circumcision, as the Feast of the Circumcision, is vastly important for us as Christians, and for this bottom line basis of Christian theology, that by means of the incarnation, all of the foundational building blocks of our salvation have been laid. And from that point onward, we build the house up from there. This is the very basis of our faith, and the transition from the old to the new covenant, found in the very flesh of Jesus Christ himself. Now, we understand here that Jesus is the fulfillment of the Old Covenant, but I think we can push it just a little bit further. Not only is he the fulfillment of the Old Covenant, but he is also, in his circumcision, the foreshadowing of the covenant that is to come. Think about this and what's happening in the circumcision of Christ. What we have here on the 8th day of his earthly human life is his very first shed blood. Now, we should all be shocked by that, my friends. Shouldn't we? That God who cannot suffer, that God who cannot bleed, that God who is impassible, that God who is beyond all things should bleed. This is so wrapped up with Christmas mystery, isn't it? It's the same exact mystery that would say to us, that would make us realize how profound it is that the one who holds all creation in his hand should be held in his mother's arms. That the one who made all things should be made in the womb of a virgin. that the one who gives all things what is needed for life should need to go to his mother's breast for life itself. These profound mysteries of the incarnation are all brought to a T here in the circumcision where God bleeds. And not only that, but it functions for us as a sort of a foreshadowing of Christ's own crucifixion. That Christ came not only to take on our flesh and to share our life, but also to share our sufferings. Christ came to bleed for you and for me. This again connects with baptism. St. Paul says in Romans chapter 6, "Know ye not that so many of us, as were baptized into Jesus Christ, were baptized into his death? Therefore we are buried with him by baptism into death, that like as Christ was raised up from the dead by the glory of the Father, even so we also should walk in newness of life. For if we have been planted together in the likeness of his death, we shall be also in the likeness of his resurrection." We see here the fundamental connection between the mystery of Easter and the mystery of Christmas. They are both two sides of the same exact coin. Because if God can bleed, God can also die, just like one of us. But unlike us, because he is God, he can also be raised from the dead. And because we have been bound with him in the incarnation through our baptism, what that means for us is that if we die with him, as St. Paul says, we will also be raised with him. And that is why fundamental to the Christmas declaration is also the declaration of Easter as well. The second that Jesus Christ breathed his first breath of fresh air outside of the womb of the Virgin was a declaration that he would be raised from the dead and that death would be conquered and he would raise us up with him as well. And these two great Christian mysteries are seen and held together in this great mystery of the Feast of the Circumcision. We see that Jesus Christ is the fulfillment of the law and simultaneously also the one who would shed blood for the whole world and raise it up to new life again. Now finally, this also has implications for us as well. Let me read that collect for you one more time. It says, "Almighty God, who madest thy blessed Son to be circumcised and obedient to the law for man, grant us the true circumcision of the Spirit, that our hearts and all our members, being mortified from all worldly and carnal lusts, we may in all things obey thy blessed will, through the same thy Son, Jesus Christ our Lord." St. Paul, throughout all of his epistles, has a very robust theology of circumcision and its application symbolically to Christian life. He understands within the concept of circumcision this sort of cutting off of the flesh, being a symbol for cutting off our spiritual flesh in a sense. For St. Paul, this word flesh referred to all of the passions and desires and pleasures that bind us to this temporal world and keep us from fully participating in the eternal realities of the kingdom of God. And if we are to truly and fully enjoy those eternal pleasures, then we must do so by turning our backs on the pleasures and passions and desires of this world and of this life. And this is precisely what is being presented to us in this theology of the circumcision of our Lord and his fulfillment of the Old Covenant. St. Paul says this in Romans 6. He says, "What shall we say then? Shall we continue to sin that grace may abound? God forbid. How shall we that are dead to sin live any longer therein?" And he continues, "For he that is dead is freed from sin. Now if we be dead with Christ, we believe that we shall also live with him, knowing that Christ, being raised from the dead dieth no more, and death hath no more dominion over him. For in that he died unto sin once, but in that he liveth unto God." And what is true for Christ, because we are bound up with him in the incarnation, also must be true for us in our lives as well. And it has implications for the way that we live. St. Paul continues, he says, "Likewise, reckon also yourselves to be dead indeed unto sin, but alive unto God through Jesus Christ our Lord. Let no sin, therefore, reign in your mortal body, that you should obey the lusts thereof. Neither yield your members as instruments of unrighteousness unto sin, but yield yourselves unto God as those that are alive from the dead, and your members as instruments of righteousness to God. This word mortify, which is used in the collect, I think really exemplifies what St. Paul is talking about here. Mortification is a term that you don't hear very much in Christian lingo anymore. But I think it should be very central to all of our conversations as Christians because it's fundamental to the meaning of Christian life. To mortify and leave behind the ways of the world and the flesh and the devil. To kill it and bury it underground. To leave it dead upon the cross while we ourselves rise to life with him. This is the very calling of the Christian life. We are called to this act of mortification. It is precisely this act of mortification that of which the circumcision speaks. It is really at the heart and center of so much of St. Paul's theology in the New Testament. And my friends, this is what is being proclaimed in the fuller theological sense of Christmas. You see, Christmas isn't just about a little baby in a manger and angels singing in the sky. Rather, it's a proclamation. It's a death knell for the world, the flesh, and the devil. It's the very first proclamation of Easter and the promise that new and true life is coming through Jesus Christ our Lord. And that we can experience that new life here and now in this world, in this life, by recognizing that Jesus Christ is the fulfillment of the law and that through that we have been united with him in flesh. Through his flesh we die with him in his death. And because we are united with him in his death, we're also united with him in his resurrection. And because we're united with him in his resurrection, we too are called to lead new lives. Not the old lives of the old man, but the new life of the Son of God living within us and within ourselves. And so, my friends, let us go out there and proclaim the message of Christmas. Let's proclaim it not with our mouths, but with our very lives, in the way that we act, in the way that we live, in the way that we change this world, in the way that we treat our neighbor and our family and ourselves. Let us go out and live the risen, incarnate life of Christ in our own flesh. And when the 8 days were accomplished for the circumcision of the child, his name was called Jesus, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost.